Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear and see me all right now. Lovely to be with you. My name is Ulla Koenig. I'm a mindfulness and meditation teacher from southern Germany. And as you saw, we have unexpected sunshine. It's been so rare lately that I haven't even figured out how to set the light in this very rare case. But it's a reason to be very happy this morning. Sunshine. We're going to talk about sensitivity today, and we're going to talk about ignorance and not knowing and all that in connection with our innate sensitivity and how we can at times struggle with that. Yeah. Before we're going to go into the session, a couple of instructions on what you can do. So I'm going to talk for about 15 minutes in a couple of minutes, and that is going to be our inspiration for practice and reflection for today. And then we're going to meditate together for about 30 minutes. And after that, we're going to have the possibility to share the practice with each other. I would very much invite you to type something into the chat box then. It was very helpful yesterday when you wrote in capital letters comment and question to it, so I knew what to respond to. And you can put that in the chat box, which you find in this window on the right. It's called chat. And if you have any technical issues, you might want to put some note in there as well, maybe technical issue in capital letters, and then the Sangha can help you out with that. Yeah. And let me just remind us all before we start the session that these sessions are running on donation. And right at the end of our session from today, I'm going to blend in the link which Sangha Life provided me with. And if you have the possibility and the financial ability, we would very much be very thankful for any support you can really give, as much or as little as it is appropriate to you. Okay, so now let's dive in and let's look into this theme of sensitivity. I called today's session, you will see it in the recordings, those titles, I called it Out of Touch, because sometimes we're really out of touch. And that is one aspect of moha, this root dynamic within us humans. One aspect is this being out of touch, having a lack of sensitivity. Yeah, not only our fingers and hands can touch, but our heart, minds, our inner sensitivity is touched by a lot of impressions and can be in touch with those impressions, or it can almost zoom out on a theoretical level, on a level of logic, on a level of assumptions, of views, and be out of touch, yeah, with whatever is going on at the moment. And this is something we're going to look into today. We all are, by our human makeup, very sensitive creatures. Yeah, we are touchable. The heart mind, yeah, is very touchable by our surroundings, by the weather. If you have, like we have in southern Germany, had rains and grey skies for days, well, almost weeks, you notice how you are touchable by the weather. It does something to our, sometimes you would call it psyche, if it's grey and drizzling all the time, doesn't it? And then the sunshine comes through and that does something, again, touched by the sunshine, yeah. Same thing for being resonance with other creatures, humans, animals, trees, birds, whatever. Yeah, we resonate. We resonate with the beingness of another. We take in all kind of information and input, whether we want or not. Yeah, I've read that children in the US are touched by 1,000 only food commercials every single day. And wow, what an input! What an input to stomach. Yeah. And we have only so much, and it's part of our training actually, only so much control on whether we consciously want to take in something or not. And then we run into information overload. Yeah. And we are also sensitive to all the dynamics in the inner. Yeah, the emotions and the physical sensations and the thoughts and the impulses. Yeah, all that does something to us. And if you hear that, that might just sound like a lot. And sometimes it is. Sometimes it's downright overwhelming. Yeah, and this is where the first compassion part can come in. You have to say, wow, it's just a lot to be so sensitive. And some of us, we are all running on different scales here. Some of us are even more sensitive than others. Yeah, we have less of an ability to consciously decide that being out of touch in this moment right now is actually a healthy thing. I can't take in so much. So I blend out. I need to blend out a certain amount of the information because else I'm just overwhelmed by our capacity for sensitivity. And yet, being in touch is something which makes our human existence possible. Without being in touch, without sensitivity, we couldn't live as a community. This sensitivity, we can also, on an interrelational level, we call it empathy. Yeah, it allows me to care for others. It allows me to create structures with others, so that we can live with each other. Yeah, it allows me to learn and to change. Yeah, without being in touch with what happens if I do A and I see result B. Yeah, and I'm in touch with result B. I couldn't do any learning. I couldn't be aware of to say, oh, actually, it's much better to do thing C, yeah, because B is not working properly. Yeah. And in order to do that, I need to be in touch with what is going on with the action and the result of the action. Yeah. So, and else we would just run into try and error over and over again. Yeah. So it's necessary to a certain degree to be sensitive, to be in touch. And we don't have always much choice about that. Yeah. That is where a lot of the suffering can come in, to say, I'm raw, I'm open to the world at the moment, and it's overwhelming. So we are basically navigating this, this polarity of sensitivity. The advantages, where we need the sensitivity for our relations, for our skillful actions, and the other extreme, the other pole, to say, well, being too sensitive can lead to overwhelm and can lead to hurt and harm. So out of our previous experience, yeah, we might have learned habits. We might have learned how that certain situations feel harmful, and that is where we consciously or unconsciously decide to shut down, to get out of touch. And ignorance can sound like such a harsh word, where we deliberately ignore something. I don't think this is often the case, very rarely. I think it's more an impulse to say something arises and says, ugh, that feels yucky, that feels uncomfortable. And I see two main motivations here to get deliberately insensitive. Yeah. One is a form of aversion, which says, I don't like to feel this, and therefore I avoid. Yeah. I don't like to feel, let's say, the rain on the skin and the wetness, and therefore I don't go for my daily walk, even if I know I feel much better afterwards. Yeah, because I don't like to be in touch with this. I don't like to feel this. I avoid. Yeah, this is an aversion movement. That is true and happens with a lot of the unpleasant experiences all day long. Yeah, where we give into the small aversion. We are very given into the aversion to avoid something. And the other form, which I think we need to respect and almost to honor, is a protection. Yeah. I don't know how to handle this. Yeah. I don't know how to handle this. And therefore I avoid. Yeah. I don't want to. I think a situation where another one suffers is a perfect example for this. Being in touch with your suffering at the moment. I don't know how to handle this. I notice I'm dragged into your suffering. I just co-suffer. Yeah, and now we have two people suffering. We just multiplied the suffering, and I don't know how to handle your suffering, and thus I avoid situations. We all might have been in this situation where we feel we're suffering, We want someone to listen to us. We want someone to mirror some empathy. And they do strange things in those situations. And I believe a lot of the time it's our lack of training in how to be appropriately compassionate, and people just back off. Yeah, they just back off, or they completely fall in, collapse into our suffering, which is not helpful either. And as we don't know how to handle a certain situation, a certain sensitivity, we back off, we avoid. And that, of course, brings new problems to the table. Yeah, a lack of sensitivity makes it harder to build and maintain relationships. And if we impulsively withdraw, you can imagine this movement of backing off. Yeah, we might do harm to ourselves, and we might do harm to others. Yeah, and this impulse, this reactivity, is always something we want to be aware of in our practice, because it oversteps all care, it oversteps all reasoning, it oversteps all wisdom. It's just an impulsive reaction to something. And as we're out of touch, we might not see small opportunities and necessary places to learn and grow. Yeah, we're kind of stuck. There is no learning process. Next time the person is suffering again, all we can do, because we did not progress, or the other can do because he or she did not progress, is just to back off again. Yeah, same habit, you see. So the insensitivity, the impulsive backing off, it hinders learning and growth. And it also propels us into a space where we live from our assumption and views. We're not in touch with the situation. Yeah, I'm not in touch with the person who is suffering. I'm backing off, and often enough, we're backing off into a realm of assumptions and views. We think about the situation. Oh, she's so sad because, I'm going in the very stereotypical here, she is so sad because she had a hard childhood. Yeah, that is why she is so sad. Yeah, it's really bad that she had such a bad childhood. And when you listen to that, you say, wow, that is way too coarse. Yeah. That the shadow of the difficult childhood might play a role, but there might be things about this situation, our relationship, other components which play a huge role. And by being propelled into this coarse world of assumptions and views where I think I know, yeah, rather than being in touch with what is actually going on, I'm not handling the actual situation. I'm living out of my perspective, out of my view upon things. And if these two aren't overlapping at all, or very little, we can't maneuver properly in that. So I find in our practice, we need to find a middle way between being helplessly exposed, due to our sensitivity. That is not something we want. I'm not a big fan of mindfulness in terms of, just feel it, just stay with it and just feel it. If that leads to being helplessly exposed, that is not helpful. Yeah, that leads to overwhelm, that leads to stress in body, heart, and mind, that leads to fragmentation, more confusion, fear, anxiety, frustration, all that. Yeah, no need. So middle way between being helplessly exposed and withdrawing into insensitivity, because we don't know how to handle, we don't know how to be with the discomfort at times. And my question would be for today, how can I safely allow myself to feel? Yeah, if that is part of honoring the protection movement. Yeah, how can I allow myself to feel, but feel in a safe way, feel in a way which is not overwhelming? The other part, being with the discomfortable, being with the unpleasant, and not being aversive to that, we talk about that later in the week. Yeah, that is part of honoring clarity, honoring being in touch with the real situation. We leave that aside for now. My question for today is, how can I allow myself to feel in a safe way? And the first thing I would or I recommend to a lot of practitioners who come and say, I have all these emotions and I feel that if I'm in touch with it, or he or she has all these emotions, or certain situations are frightening me or irritating me quickly, how can I be with them? It feels like if I get in touch, it becomes overwhelming very quickly. To say, yeah, sure, that is where we need to build a safe progression towards being in touch with that. And the first skill I would like practitioners always to have is to have this capacity to tap in and consciously tap out of an experience. Now that might sound funny. How can I do that? It's part of consciously learning to guide the attention. Yeah. I consciously pay attention for a while to that discomfort, to that pain, to that emotion. And then I consciously decide, enough now, and withdraw my attention. I put it somewhere else. On the sunshine, on the beautiful flowers outdoors, on the task at hand, on a comfortable physical feeling. Yeah, something which brings a little ease and a little calm and a little stability. And some of us who are, in a very protective shell, because they have the feeling there is something potentially overwhelming. Yeah, they need to learn to tap into that for a bit and tap out again. Tap in and tap out. And it's almost as if the heart mind develops a certain form of trust after a while in this capacity. Oh, look at that. She can consciously tap in and out. And that means safety. Because if it gets overwhelming, I see the heart mind, the awareness, the attention has the capacity to tap out of that again. Yeah, tap out of that again. We're not imprisoned in this experience. We're not helpless in this experience. We can steer away the attention if necessary. And that is something we can practice over the day with the smallest of experiences. I consciously give my attention to. I consciously withdraw it and put it somewhere else. Yeah. And the more we strengthen that muscle, the more confidence we will have that we can be in touch. And when the trickle of overwhelm starts to arise, we withdraw our attention, we take a pause. The next important thing is to decouple the experience from the judgment. That goes so quickly. If I'm in touch with a challenging experience and shame and guilt come upon that, the challenge of feeling, of being sensitive, grows exponentially. Very easy example. We're sitting again with this suffering person on the sofa, and he or she is in tears, and he or she maybe themselves a bit confused, blames us, or blames the world, or blames their childhood, blames their past, and we notice shame and guilt arising. We notice, oh, I made myself feel responsible now. Yeah, if I were different, if I hadn't done X, Y, Z, yeah, he or she wouldn't be suffering. It's about me. It's about me, the suffering. And again, very impulsive, very grasping, contracting feeling. And you can imagine how being with the suffering basically is challenging, and shame and guilt put upon that, it becomes so much larger to hold. So sometimes when we notice there is this basic suffering and there is a lot of shame and guilt around that, before we can become sensitive to that, we need to address the shame and the guilt. It would be very important to work with shame and guilt before that, so that we can be with the basic suffering instead of a whole overblown dynamic there. Good. So one thing, pardon me, I would like you to practice potentially today, you can always decline, is to notice whether you're thinking about something today or whether you are in touch with it. I notice that a lot of time in my practice that I'm in touch with something on an intellectual level, yeah, thinking about, I don't know, the school problems of my kids, yeah, and then I notice I get quickly into typical mom problem-solving mode, and have everything sorted out by the moment they come out of school, and then the problem is just gone, like minutes and ton loads of energy just for the bin there. And when I remember that I'd rather than thinking about it, I want to be in touch with it, I can go in the underlying sense of nervousness, of compassion, of care, of love for my children, about this intrinsic wish for them to be well. And I can know the quivering heart and think, oh, that's it. That's it. That's what I need to feel, and soothe that and work with that instead of going one more loop about problem solving. So the question to work with for today, if you like, would be, am I thinking about this situation or am I in touch with it? For example, second example, you might have experienced a conflict today. And then the mind goes into what has happened and replays the situation and what you now need to do and what needs to be said now, or what you should have been saying to the person. And you can spin in that for a while. And maybe eventually you remember that there's also the potential to be in touch with the situation, the anger, moving inside, the hurt moving inside, the fidgetiness in the body, all of that. And again, you have the choice point. That is very important to be in touch with that for just one inhale and exhale. And then you consciously put it to the side. And you can tap in later again, of course. So no one is forcing you to stay with that for the next 5, 10, 15, 45 minutes. One inhale, one exhale. Can I take more? There's an honest no. I feel pretty overwhelmed inside you. Put it aside. Come back later. Okay. I hope that gives some inspiration for the practice for today. And now I'm going to, practice this with you. And hopefully we can make some practical experience with it in the guided meditation. So, find yourself a pretty comfortable position. As when we dig into potentially challenging experiences, and just a reminder, all of you decide for yourself how deep you want to go in this meditation. What we don't want to do is to struggle with our bodies at the same time. So allow yourself to be comfortable. Standing, lying, sitting. And we put the main focus on calming, soothing, and compassion, of course. I'm not going to throw you into the deep end of the waters. So we first of all make ourselves comfortable. You can move the bodies around, see whether you can change the position, the posture slightly so that you feel well. You might also like to stretch out a bit and move a bit. And just notice for a moment how you're doing. How's the body doing, dear old body of ours? Does it have some calm, some gravity this morning, or do you notice a lot of fidgety energy, tiredness, achiness? Being in touch with the body for just 2 more breaths. Hello, dear one. How are you? And then we tap into emotions. Any feelings, any moods, maybe on the vague end, maybe more precise this morning. Or maybe there's nothing much going on, which is okay too. Maybe there's even a little sense of calmness or contentment within you. And I'd be very happy for you. And when we shift our attention to the thinking mind, the realms of thoughts and activity of the mind, how dense, how quick are the thoughts this morning? How convincing are they? How thick is the chatter? And after you took inventory like this, what do you think about your capacity to meet something challenging or just mildly unpleasant this morning? Is there a lot going on already? And you might have only a very small capacity. Or do you sense a sense of calm, rootedness, groundedness? So that you can make a conscious choice about tapping into discomfort, challenge today. How much capacity is there? So that you can respect body, heart and mind today. And no matter how you're doing, I invite you to soothe and relax body, heart and mind with me. Maybe by feeling out those parts of the body which are supported by the earth. Through the chairs, the cushions, the sofas, the walls. And maybe the breath can help us to being this gentle messenger which is entering the body, the breath body. And just sharing this invitation with the body, saying, if you like, dear body, there is space around you to open into with the inhale. And with the exhale, you're very much invited to soften. And if this feels challenging this morning, because there is a lot going on, achiness in the body, some strong emotional current running through, or dense thoughts, saying, oh, dear body, hide mind. Not an easy morning. I see a very active, agitated, hurting. Oh, may you be well. May you find rest and ease again. Maybe you can give yourself permission to just back off a bit of whatever is troubling you for the moment. Come back later, dear one. Dear troubled one, dear challenge. But now I need to rest a bit. Need to stabilize and nourish myself. And maybe it's not that easy to back off. Maybe the heart is, the body, the mind is very in need of attention and care. Saying, oh, I see it's really hard to let go. And maybe to meet that as well with compassion. Maybe in all this inner dynamic of body, heart, and mind, you find one or two experiences which are rather pleasant or easy. Maybe you hear some nature in the background, or feel the comfort of your meditation place. Maybe the breath feels gentle and nourishing. Can you invite the attention to cradle in there? Allow it to be your hammock. Here is a safe place. And if something is calling for your attention, whether it's in the body, whether it's an emotion or a thought, an image or a memory, allow your mind to go there. Something is calling, saying, look at me. Saying, oh yeah, and I see that there's still something agitated, nervous. There's still impulses shooting through body, heart and mind. May you be well, dear body, heart and mind. May you feel nourished and supported enough to eventually find some ease, some calm. And after this well-wishing, you might want to reconnect with your hammock, your safe place. Oh, there was this comfortable feeling of leaning deeply into the wall, the cushion, the sofa, the mattress. There's this possibility of taking a very pleasant inhale and exhale, or to listen to the birds, the stillness. And now I want you to check in with yourself. Do you want to continue doing that? Does it feel nourishing at the moment? And if so, please continue doing so. And if you want to, we can play the little game of tap in, tap out. But if you feel you don't have the capacity for that, it's absolutely fine to just continue relaxing, soothing, nourishing. So first, take 2 or 3 more inhales, exhales with whatever was your safe place, your comfortable experience. And then I'd like you to bring the attention to a small discomfort in the body. Please don't choose the huge pain if you have one, hopefully not. Just a mildly unpleasant sensation. And stay with that, maybe for a breath or two. Be in contact with it. And then very consciously tap out again, back into something easeful, neutral, comfortable, soft. Maybe another very pleasant inhale and exhale. And you decide whether you would like to do that again. You And very consciously bring your attention there. Like taking someone by the hand and showing something. Look at this. Maybe we can look with the eyes of compassion, saying it's not easy. It's not easy to experience this right now. And then, even though it might be alluring, even though it might want you to stay almost with it, very consciously tap out again, saying enough for now, enough. And the mind might wander and be without orientation for a moment, and then you gently, ever so gently guide it back to something which is okay, or even a bit pleasant. Oh, welcome back to my feet, to my hands. One more nourishing inhale and exhale. Okay. And then you are very much invited to gently move and stretch and yawn and sigh. And there's no need to hurry out of meditation. Maybe this part of offering the body some movement can be part of our practice. And when you feel ready, eventually you come out of your meditation and back into this cyber world, back to the screen with me. Okay. So in a couple of, I'm going to explain the practice in a moment for you, just a quick wrap up of what my intention was. But if you want to, you can share upon this meditation experience, how this tapping in and out went for you. Any thoughts about sensitivity and insensitivity you might have, or from your own experience, that would be lovely. Or really any questions on what we talked about today or yesterday. Okay, into the chat box, and I'd love to share with you. So, and while you type, I just explain what we did there so that you have an idea about the technique behind it, to practice this on your own. You might have seen that we prepared the ground very thoroughly. Yeah, it's not about, oh, there is a problem and I need to tap in and tap out. The heart mind can't do that in the beginning. It's still so reactive, still so fragile, still so confused, so easily triggered, that actually we need to prepare the ground well and soothe and nourish and stabilize. And sometimes this is all we do. Yeah, we had this quick check-in in the beginning where we need to take an honest, respectful look at our capacity today. And sometimes the answer will just be, I don't have the capacity to hold that at the moment. All I want to do, all I need to do at the moment is to soothe and nourish, yeah. And then it's very interesting, we easily tap into something problematic and challenging. And I notice this clinging, this contracting around in the very moment where I say, okay, enough of that. Yeah. Something wants to stay with the problematic, wants to be in touch with that at times. Maybe gives a feel of security and control to be in touch with the problematic. And it's a moment where I very consciously make the decision to say, no, enough. Yeah, enough. And coming back to something which feels wholesome. Yeah. And to practice this stepping in, stepping out, and some, Lois called it putting a toe into the water, perfect image, yeah. Putting a toe into the water, and no one is shoving you into the deep end. No one is shoving you into the cold bath, yeah. Saying it's okay to put your toe in, and it's absolutely okay to put it out again, yeah. Saying enough, yeah. So to have this change. And I hope that maybe you felt it, that when you have an experience of, there is the capacity to decide how deep I want to go in and how intensely, that more trust in your capacity for sensitivity arises. Okay. So thank you, Mariavi, and I wish you a wonderful day. She's, she tapped in and out of into this sense of tension and anxiety about a very busy day. And yeah, I wish you a wonderful day today. Thank you. Anyone else wanting to share their experience? Leaving you all to the typing. By the way, if I don't make it through all of your beautiful questions and contributions at the end of the session, I will ask George to collect them for me and come back to them tomorrow. So nothing should get lost, hopefully. Yeah, Kirtan is sharing that the mind is wandering so much while being in meditation. Yeah, that can happen. And I wonder sometimes in such guided meditations where we speak about, all those beautiful experiences of calm and ease, and when someone is sitting there and just having a mind completely wandering around, whether that can actually heighten this gap of shame. Yeah, she speak about calm and beautiful and pleasant experiences, and all I experience is my confused, wandering mind. Be very rest assured that this is the case for many of us. Yeah, many of us. And if you notice that, I have a meditation style which called breadcrumb style. Mine is wandering, and I'm feeding it one pleasant experience, and then it runs off again, wandering, and I feed it one more breadcrumble of, oh look, at feet are still on the ground, and that feels good, and mine says yeah, and off it goes again. Yeah, and over time I noticed that this patient but caring set of small impulses can calm it down, can soothe it a little bit. Yeah, and I hope that gives some perspective and also some relief to say, yeah, it's the case for many of us, Kurtin, that the mind is wandering. Yeah. Johanna is saying, I found that very intense, and I will have to think hard about how I proceed with managing future meditations. Yes, Johanna, thank you for sharing. This idea of intensity is something I would all of us have to put an eye upon. Yeah, meditation and mindfulness should never be overwhelming. Yeah. And if you have a sense of intensity in the negative way, I would actually like you to back off of that. Yeah, rather than to go further into, and pay honor and respect to your sense of sensitivity there, and to say, okay, maybe that was a little too much. And even if I listen to a guided meditation, I have the freedom at all times to say, okay, she's guiding me somewhere where it doesn't feel safe. I open up my eyes, I look around, I maybe even interrupt this morning session. Okay. Christiana is writing, I'm wondering why it is that whilst we yearn for happiness, a good feeling, our minds No, it's springing. I'm wondering why it is that whilst we yearn for happiness, a bad feeling, our minds happily attaches to a bad feeling. Yeah, I think that's what I think from an evolutionary perspective, it's very easy. You know, happy feelings don't make us survive. If you pay attention to the challenging, the problematic, and the potential dangerous, that makes us survive. So there is this problem solving, danger solving, challenge solving before going towards happiness. And that is what our minds are trained to do, evolutionary wise. And if we take that into account, we see what we're actually up to. Yeah, we're reshaping. We're reshaping basically how our innate process of attention functions. And I have a huge respect for that. Yeah, to say, well, of course, the larger the threat, the problem, the challenges, the more we go back into evolutionary survival mode. I think I need to think about that. And this conflict feels existential. Yeah, this relationship pattern feels existential. Yeah. To say, okay, I honor that. That is something very deeply ingrained, and it will take time and patience and a lot of practice to shape that around. I hope that makes sense, Christiana. So Libby has a question. Is the practice that Dr. Peter Levine referred to as pendulation? Yeah. So we're very closely related here to trauma-sensitive mindfulness. This respectful tapping in and tapping out movement is very closely related to being able to handle the smaller and the larger traumas in our experience. To say we don't want to dissociate completely and be constantly on backing off, yeah, and we don't want to collapse into. So what we actually need to train ourselves is to build and rebuild the middle way in between. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Now, Gwen wrote, I'm in the midst of a very big row with a loved one over a big difference of opinion and find it very difficult to stop obsessive thinking. Any thoughts how to keep the mind calm? In the meditation, compassion helped briefly, but my defending voice kept coming back. Yeah. I think compassion is a very helpful tool here. Sometimes we try to be compassionate for the other and their suffering, but usually the anchor point is to notice, well, it's challenging for me to be in this conflict with the other one. I notice that different parts of me are active. There is the defensive voice, and just saying, "Oh, dear defensive voice, you are a form of compassion, caring dynamic as well." Yeah, I feel so attacked, maybe that there needs to be a constant shell of defense around me, and if I lower that guard of defense, I feel shame, I feel guilt, I feel the attack of the other, vulnerable to the attack of the other, whatever it is. So to see that this defensive voice is maybe a form of protection you're experiencing right now. I want to say almost thank you to it. And it cares so much that it doesn't want you to be exposed to the attacks. And maybe in this form of even giving you a sense of protection. I'm in this room now. I'm sitting here. The other person is not present and I'm not attacked right now. Yeah. Any sense of safety you can gather together with the compassion might help as well. I hope this gives some ideas on how to explore practice. Henry wrote, I have a new class to teach at my workplace and they are only 4 years old. I have feelings of both anxiety and excitement. Yes. And I've recognized I need to plan before teaching for optimal performance. I went straight to smoking cigarettes to get rid of that anxiety last week. Oh yeah. And he advised to process this anxiety and ease the pain and restlessness. Yeah, Henry, I can relate to that. Sometimes they're so close with each other, the excitement of being with those children and the anxiety of doing something wrong and not doing the optimal thing. Like, I would first of all tap often enough into the excitement. Before I start teaching, I bring up the familiar faces in the class and I notice my excitement of being with them and how much I like to teach and how much I like to be in this role and offer something hopefully helpful. That is the one part. And the second part is to feel that anxiety and almost that is a fear part and almost to say, yeah, what it values is the preparation. What it wants is to be supportive to others. That's important, yeah. And the fear of failing that is what causes the anxiety, perhaps. To say, to nourish the anxiety with the feel of, this is my preparation. And this the child, I don't know, does set and just to see, I have, yeah. Anxiety is something to most settle into, yeah. So say that is the safe ground. Some ideas there. Acacia is writing, the body was very tired and a bit unwell this morning, and I found it hard to know if it was not resourced enough to work with intensity, or if the fatigue was in fact the experience I should be tapping in and out of. Ah, great, Acacia. Now that brings up a perfect point here. Sometimes we don't know, and that is okay. Sometimes we don't know if we have the capacity. You will very quickly know if you tap into something, for example, this bodily sensation or anything else, yeah, whether that brings up tension, whether that brings up a lot of thinking, whether that brings up a lot of agitation, and then you have your feedback loop, yeah, to say, oh, okay, I notice, quickly, it gets quickly triggered and active. I'm tapping out of that, yeah, maybe just a little bit more nourishing, a little bit more soothing. And if we really don't know, there is not too much soothing and there is not too much nourishing. So with that, you're always on the safe side. That's what I would like to share on this. Catherine is sharing. Sadly, my mother has had to go into a nursing home. Supporting her in this transition really resonated with your account of the problem-solving school-gate mind. Oh. Thank you for the perception of the problem-solving as in part an aversive, not in touch response. Yes, it was challenging to tap in and out of the underlying anxiety and inclination to fix things, but ultimately helpful. Yes, Catherine, that is beautifully described here. It's not easy. Yeah, it's not easy. That is why we need to be so deeply resourced. And the challenging thing is that the problem-solving loop, it causes us such a drain of energy that we actually don't have the capacity to tap into that. Yeah, we come out of an exhausted mind, yeah, with all the thoughts we had, and we don't have the capacity in the beginning to be in touch with this feeling of, oh, anxiety, what will happen to her? Will she be well? Yeah. With our sense of, don't have it fully under control, what is happening now, our sense of helplessness and fear coming with that. So again, as I said to Acacia, the nourishing and the soothing aspect is crucial if we want to be in touch with the challenges of life. Okay. So thank you all for your beautiful contributions this morning. As I said, my answers to your questions are never precise enough. I never, they can always be hinters and pointers. So if you have a feeling I completely misunderstood, please forgive me and trust into your own inner wisdom. Yeah, whether an answer resonates, and if it does not, just discard it. Yeah. Okay. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the preference of not knowing. I'd rather not know something, yeah, and how that can happen a lot to us, and as another aspect of ignorance. And I'm looking forward to be with you tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for coming and being here with us. Thank you.